Well, Tux is looking right comfy in his chair this morning. Good morning, buddy.
What's wrong, sweetie?
Well, nothing's wrong, but I have been into the Tesla account this morning, and it still shows the reservation number and no VIN. So I want you all to know that I've checked this morning.
Yeah.
And still no VIN. So not the end of the world, but we are checking. Like I've said, we're checking daily.
Right.
We have heat and dust for the next 3 days. They've been warning us about outside air quality. Right now, I don't see any haze or anything that would indicate that it's bad out there. And it was okay when I was out this morning with the kitties. I'm actually a little worried about the kitties. Well, Gray has asthma, and sometimes she has those coughing fits. And I'm really not able to give her the inhaler because she would not tolerate being held like that. Now, I could go get her a steroid, a pill I could probably get down her if she... But I mean, all the outside animals, I'm just, in general, I'm a little worried for them. And especially ones that have asthma, which I've seen Gray having signs occasionally. Not anything hard, not daily.
Right.
But a few times a month I see her have a coughing fit. And I know so that's causing me just a small amount of stress. Because I care for all the outside animals having to breathe the dust for 2 or 3 days. Where we can come in and get away from it in the house. If it's bothering us, they don't kind of have the same options. And another thing I was going to add is I think we're going to Home Depot today. Don's been chatting about wood for the shed project. Although I guess it's kind of hard for him to know exactly what when... we don't actually have the floor pieces, and the stuff online is kind of limited as far as the dimensions for the building and stuff. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Short answer is probably going to have to be start digging. That's the real problem.
Yeah, that'll put him in a great mood.
Yeah. Nothing like digging in 90-something degrees.
The sheds are coming from Ontario, California, which is also coincidentally where our light fixture is coming from. 2 separate places we ordered from, one from Amazon and one from Costway. But the sheds are due Tuesday afternoon, FedEx.
Yeah.
And the light fixture is now due Wednesday from UPS. So we don't have those two. We can't do that.
Yeah, but we can still dig.
Right. Well, you won't be out there without me. So
that's right.
I may or may not be actually digging, but I will be providing support. Last time when I dug a little bit on the boardwalk, I don't think it was the digging so much as it was lifting the dirt away and twisting over to the wheelbarrow kind of messed up my back a little bit. And that mess up, it doesn't feel that way anymore. It's kind of re-healed. So if I could not agitate that again, that would be good.
Right.
We're in video watching mode now. Don has Dr. Stan Ekberg up. He's probably our favorite guy, most informative. And I am getting ready to do bag 3. These are the parts for bag 3. I think I can accomplish that probably. I'm just going to guess in about 30 minutes I'll have bag 3 done. So I got the legs put on, and you can see the 4 legs and a lot of gold bricks. I was just nothing short of amazed at the number of gold bricks that are included with this kit. Gold is not a typical Lego color. If you put this kit together, don't stress about these being flat because they can be at an angle when you're building it, because when you set it on the base, that really flattens them out. There's this little circular area down there. and that really allows them to flatten, so don't stress over that. I messed up here, and the constructions are very clear. This top leg needs to go into the gray to gray pin here, and then this leg at the bottom, later you add gray to black pin. And it was very clear, but I put this leg on the black pin, and I had to go all the way around and take them off and put them back, which is why when you're building, you keep on checking what you're doing the whole time, so you don't get too far past where you might have made a mistake before you can fix it. But yeah, I had a mistake, and I took it apart and I redid it. The other thing that was a little tricky is there's a really unique piece here, and how can I describe it? It has a little indentation. It's not in the center here, and the indentation has to be on the inside, not on the outside. So if you didn't do that right, this would be too smushed together, and it was stretched out, and you just knew it was wrong. So I kept on studying it, and I figured that out too. So anyway, I'm ready to do bag 4, which is the whole top of this thing that sits on here. And I'm not going to do that now, but bag 4 is like 3 bags, and it's a lot of parts. So, but I am ready for that step.
So this week I've did some thinking about Tesla. You know, the stock price has been up, things like that. And I participated on a Patreon exclusive podcast with Out of Spec Motoring, Kyle Connor, and had a great time. And he posted it to Patreon, and I'm on the Patreon page, and so I was able to log on, and some people had left comments, which is good. But one of the comments was, somebody said, you know, in the S and X about a battery upgrade. Because we had talked about the charging rate of 220 kilowatt rate on a new update that's being released right now. And so my concern was, the question that Kyle asked me was, what's attractive, you know, what do you think about that update? And I said, well, I was a little worried. Mary and I are not typical. You know, we tend to keep our cars for a really long time. I've said numerous times that we plan to keep Ruby and Driver till the wheels fall off. So battery life is important, and if charging at 220 kilowatt rate shortens or degrades my batteries more or faster, I'm not interested. I'd rather charge at the 150 kilowatt rate. This is me personally, and I made that clear on the video. Okay. Well, one of the comments to the video on Patreon, the gentleman, and he was exactly right. He said, well, maybe Tesla will offer a low-cost battery upgrade. And that's what sort of prompted this video. Obviously, I'm all for it. You know, when the new chemistry comes out, higher energy density, greater range, and maybe for a few $1,000s, we take the old battery out of Ruby and get, you know, another 100-mile range or 200-mile range out of Ruby or whatever. But so my comment was, and which is what this video is that, you know, there's several things that are going on in Tesla. It's exclusive to Tesla that does not apply to any other car company. And one of this is we've just experienced, and we're not completely through it, and that is a MCU upgrade path, a computer upgrade in your car while you still own the car that is not cost prohibitive. I've heard that people have had to replace their computers in other high-end cars, and $8,000 for the computer isn't unusual. I'm not saying that's the going rate, but it's possible. I've only got an in of like 2 or 3, so I could be off on this. So anyways, to speed this up, well, Tesla I think when they came out with the Model S and Model X, they, until hardware 2, they had never given any thought to the concept of we need to upgrade the computers in these cars. They were sort of boxed in. Elon said, I think AP2 is powerful enough that we can do self-driving, full self-driving on AP2, but if not, we'll replace the computer. And so he at least had to think about the upgrade of the computer at that point. Well, since then, 2.5, the new MCU 2 with the high speed, higher, faster browser, more snappier response came out, and has Netflix, dash cam, and all these other. So he's actually had to come up with a upgrade strategy for the MCU 1 to MCU 2. So now he's had to deal with an upgrade path for a computer, the full self-driving in the car, and now he's having to deal with the upgrade path in the MCU. Well, and now we're talking about an upgrade path for the battery. So I think right now Tesla would not agree that there's an upgrade or a need, but in the future, in a couple more years, especially as more cars with the 8-year unlimited mileage battery, I think Tesla's going to have to come out with something that is unheard of. They're going to have to come out with an upgrade path for their battery. No other internal combustion car company has ever come out with an upgrade path for their computer, much less the cameras and the electronics in the car, the cursory thing. And they would never come out with an upgrade path for the engine, transmission, or anything significant in the drivetrain. Now, granted, you can go out and destroy your motor, and you can go and replace the entire motor, but it ends up being replaced with the exact same thing. It's not really an upgrade, and it's going to be very expensive. You're probably not going to do it unless it's under warranty. I'm actually talking about a bona fide, out of warranty. Marianne and I could be, for the right price, be willing to upgrade our battery pack, and we'd get more range than the car was when it was new. So that's it. But here's the kicker. Tesla just came, Tesla Daily Podcast, Rob Maurer, and I like him. He came out and said, Tesla's already got a 1 million mile battery. So I encourage you to go listen to that podcast. It was released yesterday. Today's the 26th, so it's the podcast for the 25th. Tesla already has a 1 million mile battery. Totally agree with him. Well, he talks about no other car manufacturer on earth is interested in a 1 million mile battery, because if you drive 12,000 miles a year, to go 1 million miles takes 80 years, and no car company on earth is going to want to only sell cars once every 80 years. But Tesla is different. They don't want to sell them every 80 years either. But what's happening is they want their ride sharing is coming soon. Full self-driving, autonomous ride sharing. You could easily run up a 1 million miles in 10 years or 12 years in that scenario. So a 1 million mile battery makes sense for a car that drives autonomously in a car sharing environment. An autonomous car for Marianne and I, no matter how many times Johnny's got to be taken to school or how many trips to the doctor I might need in my old age, it's never going to rack up 1 million miles. The car would have to rack up 1 million miles. It's going to have to be car sharing. So what I'm saying is Tesla's going to have to come out with an upgrade path for the full self-driving computer also, because antivirus people on Windows, they've kind of, after this many years it falls out. But I don't know that Tesla's going to be able to do that, because what are they going to do in an autonomous driving world, after the, what is it, 50,000 miles or 100,000 miles. Remember, these are million-mile cars, and the full self-driving goes out of warranty. So there's no upgrade. They have to, because if a car crashes and somebody's injured, and they say, "Oh, well, we're sorry. That accident occurred because you don't have this level of the full self-driving computer, because it's not available for your car that has 500,000 miles on it, because we decided not to have an upgrade path for you to upgrade the full self-driving computer over the million-mile life of this car, and a person gets injured or killed, somebody's going to get filthy rich." Tesla is going to have no choice but to continue to have an upgrade path for the full self-driving computer, and probably the MCU, if they're going to come out with a million-mile car, because 10 years is probably going to be the minimum, and they can't afford not to let you upgrade the car, because they're not going to stop making the car safer. How do you, with full self-driving, say it's safe enough? We're not going to develop any more software for the full self-drive. It's golden. We're going to burn it in a microchip. All you're ever going to need. This chip here, you're done. You know, it works really well with the IP stack for Wi-Fi. That's why the chips have gotten down to like $1 a piece now. That's why they're in light bulbs, is because somebody's open source, there's an open source Wi-Fi stack that you can put on a chip. They make the chips cheap enough, you don't have to license the software anymore. They can put it on the chip, and it does enough. But I don't know that there's ever going to be enough computer in a full self-driving car. Now, it's possible, maybe via the cloud, that the computers are so powerful and the cloud is so, connectivity is so fast that the driving of the car is in the cloud, and therefore all you got to do is have the communication link. I don't know, but there's, what I'm trying to, long-winded, and I didn't mean to get this long-winded, is that Tesla, they may not have thought about an upgrade path for their computer when they first came out with the Model S and X. They may not have thought about an upgrade path for the MCU when they first came out. They may not have thought about a battery upgrade path. But because of their cars and the time frame that they're thinking they're going to do, sooner or later they're going to have to come out with an upgrade path, if nothing else, for the full self-driving computer, because I think from the safety point of view, they cannot afford to say, this accident occurred because this full self-driving level that you have in your car wasn't the latest and greatest because we chose not to have an upgrade path for you. Now, if you are the owner and you choose not to buy the service contract to upgrade the computer, and you consciously decide, I don't want that computer because you didn't, it was offered but I chose not to shell the money, and then my self-driving car goes out and kills somebody because it doesn't have that level of it in, that's negligent on my part. But if Tesla doesn't offer the upgrade path, it's negligence on their part.
I'm going to take a brief walk around the yard, and then I think I'm going to pull out the hose and water. I don't think we're going to have a significant rainfall. I didn't say we couldn't have a sprinkle, but a significant watering rainfall for a few days, and it would be a good idea to water all the flowers and plants. I got out hamburger meat to make the guys hamburgers with keto waffle buns for dinner tonight. They always like that. Tux is down here by the bridge, so that's sort of why I'm walking in this direction. Oh, I did not know that the Japanese beetles were on my canna lilies that much. I see just a few over here. I did not know. Well, there's a lot of leaves there, so a little damage isn't probably going to be a problem. Hey, buddy. I saw you were asleep on the other side of the bridge. It's, I think, noticeably cooler in the front yard and down by the bridge than it is in the backyard where we go in and out of the house. The sun is just makes that hot. They all go down to the creek quite a good bit. And noticing that I need to mow the grass. Obviously right now, while the sun is fully out in the front yard, is not the time to do that, and possibly not the time to do it until this little bit of dust that we're supposed to have passes. We'll see if an opportunity presents itself. Don is actually out behind the garage, or was out behind the garage. He's doing lumber inventory, amongst other things. Needs to see what we need to do the sheds, the flooring for the sheds. You can see here his trash can is drying that he had sprayed inside and out to prevent rust, so it'll continue to serve us well. And it's pretty toasty out here today. Tux is in a super love on me, mom, rub me, give me attention mood right now. I can see these guys are just trying to stay cool mostly though.
What works well for a cat ought to be working well for a guy. I'm out here in the heat. You're not worried about affection in me.
I'll affection you. I'll run and get you cold water. Stay out here and be hot with you.
Yeah, you go. That's a girl.
I got my chair. I can watch you dig.
See, the asphalt
actually goes on the other side of the...
well, I knew it.
Yeah, you knew it did. Obviously, you put the metal not exactly on the edge. Duh, right, of course. Yeah, that fell recently.
Probably did in my damn roof.
Probably did, if I had to guess. I'm finished watering. The hose is just up on the big hydrangea bush, soaking the roots. We'll roll it up in a few minutes. That coleus over there sure is looking pretty. Don says that's his favorite. Yep, everything is done watering. Don's been in and out of the garage doing Alexa math, he says.
Yeah, I'm kind of taking what inventory of what we have and a couple other things, and I have enough 4x4s.
Cool. It's just so bright out here. I did a lot of grass pulling while I was watering. That's how I make sure I stay in one spot long enough. I would be taking a lot more pictures on the daylilies if there would just be some butterflies. I would even be taking more pictures on the butterfly bush. Again, if only there were some butterflies. No butterflies. No hummingbirds this year either. My white Rose of Sharon's blooming. There's some purple down here, but I don't have any buds yet. What a difference inside the garage makes.
Right. It's quite nice in here.
Yeah, we picked the hottest part of the day to be out here, but I've gotten some natural vitamin D, which I do think is really important for people to stay healthy, so that's a good thing. I don't notice any haze, and I don't notice any respiratory stuff, or I would have quit and gone inside. So I got a couple of plants to plant. I'm waiting for Dawn to fill that super huge pot I brought home from Guardian Angel a couple of weeks ago with half dirt from the boardwalk project, you know, the topsoil that we dug up over here, and then I'm going to top it off with potting soil. But I have a couple of small things to plant, so that's what I'm going to do now. Slate doesn't normally hang with me while I'm out here, but she's been enjoying herself. I'm not after you, sweetheart. I was actually really glad to have you nearby. You were safe. Well, Don's filling my big pot. I'd say that's probably pretty good. I'm going to put, you know, dark dirt from Home Depot, potting soil, stuff up at the top. That's probably good. Don says he's pleased. It looks like the tarp has kept the dirt dry. Don says he doesn't trust that if he covers the tarp back on it right now that I won't need more. So he says before it rains, he'll cover it back up.
Well, maybe draw
Hey, Tux.
They promised us there's like absolutely no possibility of rain.
Yeah. Watch out for the cat. Alright, there's where that pot and gardenia went. It smells pretty. I decided to move it a little closer to the platform area. So Don says that we have all the wood we need for the shed project, he thinks, except for the plywood for the top.
For the floor.
For the floor. Well, that's what I meant. The top of the floor. To go on the floor foundation.
Yeah, we need 48 square feet. Approximately 48 square feet. And I calculated I have, because it's probably okay if we piece it a little bit. I mean, this is not...
Right.
I have 40 square feet, so I'm 8 square feet of exterior plywood, 3/4 inch plywood.
Short.
So I'm probably going to end up with a sheet. But. I don't really want to have to. Well, you know, maybe we should still go if we can. You know, just go get a sheet because I don't see how I'm not going to be.
Need a sheet.
So I guess we could technically go get a sheet.
Well, Don had said we weren't going. It's up to him. Go, not go. It's up to him. So this is what came in the mail today. The mailman brought 2 of these this morning. Don said together they weigh about 25 pounds. It's a pretty heavy package. So a universal rolling base protocol brand. It has a leveler and it has a brake. And you might remember at Harbor Freight the other day we bought one of these stands. That's not included in the box, just the bottom part. Don is going to put the radio alarm saw on the stand and the stand on the rollers, and then he has another roller that he's going to put at the bottom of his Black & Decker table saw, so it'll move. And anyway, so we have 2 of these here, but no reason getting these out and doing this until we have the shed to move the tools to. At least I don't think. Not unless when we go to work on this, Don decides he'd like to, you know, use his tools on these platforms. And those platforms on the wheels on the casters are adjustable from 12 inches to 33 inches. So it can be 12 by 12 or 33 by 33. I guess the little side pieces slide in and you get to bolt it into place where you want it. So it's got some flexibility on the actual dimensions of the square of the platform. We're here, and there's a fair number of people here. Don's looking for a thing to put a piece of plywood on, one of the fancy wood carts. I stuck out to the garden center. Well, Don, he doesn't really care. I thought maybe I'd pick up some sort of a pot, but you know why? They have the absolute worst selection, and also they're like way more expensive than the Better Homes and Garden stuff at Walmart, so no. Wow, I think I like that color hydrangea. I don't think I've ever seen one that dark before. Wow, it says they don't get any bigger than 3 foot by 3 foot. That's kind of compact, and they're $25, so not unless they have one left on clearance in the fall. It has some new orchids in over here that they didn't have the other day, so that's cool. Did you find one in good enough shape?
Oh yeah, this is good enough.
Okay.
Heavy, God, this thing is heavy.
So you get to see how the thing slides in. So it's up on that ledge. You can see there's a little room underneath there. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. Looky, looky, they have finished the walking bridge over top of Mineral Springs. They've laid down pavers on both sides. Looks good. Don's very pleased with himself because he gets to use his fancy hydraulic lift table. This piece of plywood is over 100 pounds. It's wet. The 2 guys at Home Depot, Don and some other guy, who was a shorter, smaller man, but he volunteered to help on his own. He didn't even work there, so we appreciated him. But they had to work a little bit to get that piece of lumber back there. That was not trivial. And of course, you know, I would offer to help, but I would be useless, so.
I could have had you pump the table up.
Well, I could have done that. Don says this is how we got all the pieces of sheetrock for the inside of the garage.
Right.
Home by himself was this table. Told you, Don's got all kind of methods for handling things by himself because he's used to being single and having to move things on his own.
Yeah, I'm a little out of practice with 4x8 sheets.
Well, it ain't sheetrock, so it's not going to snap in half. I think you're good.
Right, I used to do a little smoother with
the sheetrock, I would think. That would be a little more risky. So now you're going to set it to the side, back the GMC out, and put it under the carport, or where are you going to put it?
I'm going to put the cardboard back in the back of the GMC.
Right. Yeah, we didn't have too much stuff back there, but we did have a little bit Don had to take out.
Yeah. Oh, I should probably fold the seat up before I go too far.
I told Don he's going to have to take out that little holly because he's going to be rubbing against it the entire time he works on this shed project, and it's really going to be touching the back of the shed. And I love the hollies, but we have, you know, several hundred in the yard. That little tiny one, I don't expect we're going to miss it. You know what that means, don't you? That means Don's going to pull that holly tree out of the ground with his GMC. Don says it takes longer to get the chains and the strap out than it does to actually pull the tree out of the ground.
Correct.
He tried with the handheld, what do you call that thing? Brush scrubber. Yeah, he tried with that fancy pincher thing. And, yeah, it's pretty dry out there and it's got deep roots. But the GMC, it won't have no trouble. He's done this many times before. I filmed it many times before. I'd say it broke, which was not what he was going for. Yeah, it's part of it was part of the big tree. And it broke, but it's closer than you could have got with the saw.
Oh,
yeah. All better. Now Don won't be bumping into that prickly holly tree every time he's trying to dig over here. Well, it sounds like somebody's been having a lot of fun back there. You want to tell me what's going on?
So I got a game called Star Trek Bridge Crew, and my other two friends also got it. And now some of you may think, well, that's a VR game. It's also non-VR, so yay. But anyways, I've been screaming, "Go to warp!
Go to warp!"
for the last hour or two.
Okay, well,
5.
Mr. Don may be going to take a nap, so maybe you can do engage.
Energize. Punch it. Engage.
It's hamburger night. This one's Johnny's with the ranch.